On May 14th, 2020, Sucker Punch Studios released a nearly 20-minute video showcasing their soon-to-be-released open-world action-adventure game, Ghosts of Tsushima. At this point in time, it was the most detailed look that fans had gotten into the world that the Seattle-based developer had been working on for nearly 7 years. Given Sucker Punch's pedigree, the PlayStation world anxiously awaited footage for their upcoming release, as it had been surprisingly sparse up to that point. Even more surprising, and perhaps puzzling, as fans will be able to enjoy Sucker Punch's hard work in just about 2 months' time. So, what was the reaction to this extended showcase? By and large, it seems to have been rather positive. I don't think anyone can say that this game looks outright disappointing. At the very least, the demo seemed to highlight the fact that Sucker Punch has taken full advantage of their lengthy development cycle for their latest project. Tsushima's visual polish can't be ignored, and the developers have stated in interviews that they have gone to great lengths to include the minutiae that makes an open-world game feel truly special. Even though these aspects and others I will touch on later were abundantly clear to me as I watched the demo, why is it that I feel like I've played this game before? Before expanding on the familiarity I felt when I watched the demo, I want to clarify that while this video serves to be a critique, I am not only excited about Ghosts of Tsushima, but I could feel quite differently by the time I experienced it firsthand. The adage about books and their covers certainly applies here. Now, on to the demo. I'm still trying to wrap my head around why I left the demo feeling slightly underwhelmed by what I saw. Is it generational fatigue? After all, this is set to be the last major first-party release for the PS4's life cycle, and it could very well be that I simply have my sights set on games that are to be revealed and released in the coming months. Or is it something more than just an unfortunate release window? My mind is gravitating towards the latter. After having watched the demo multiple times, my thoughts seem to settle on the fact that much of what was showcased were things that players have done before in a litany of other titles. Gather resources, find points of interest and interact with them, find enemy camps or outposts, clear the enemies or destroy resources of said camp, throw a rock or another object to induce a bit of stealth and avoid detection. Granted, I am well aware that we only saw but a mere glimpse of the world Sucker Punch built, and therefore this one mission approach both in open combat and stealth should not be the benchmark by which the entirety of this world and its gameplay is judged. Personally though, I would have rather they showed something that was truly unique to this project. A project they are unmistakably passionate about. I suppose the counter to this would be the initial gameplay reveal for Ghosts of Tsushima, which showed a much less generic looking mission. Let's just hope Sucker Punch has a lot more of those up their sleeve rather than an Assassin's Creed Odyssey style map with cut and paste enemy camps that seem to be the love child of redundancy and complacency rather than thoughtfulness and respect for the player. As I mentioned in the beginning, the reaction to this demo and ever since the game was first revealed to us back in 2018 has been largely positive. So, I don't want to make it out as though this game is in trouble or that I am hoping for it to fail. Although, one could make the argument that the lack of footage up to this point indicates a lack of confidence on the part of Sony. It is interesting that Sony has waited so long to push this game to the forefront of the gaming discussion. It makes one question the degree to which Sony believes they will end this generation with a bang. I digress. I didn't come away with a definitive feeling of utter excitement or heightened anticipation. Rather, I was left with a feeling of vague familiarity that sparked reflection. I think that this game and open world games in general for that matter are victims to what most pieces of art in the end are. The influence of their most successful contemporaries. Perhaps this was just glaringly obvious to me as I watched the demo because this generation saw an explosion of fully or semi-open world games that all touted amazing levels of immersion and world building, when in fact many of them worked within the exact same framework with a new coat of paint and a slightly different engine under the hood. In saying that, I'm in fact invoking a certain level of hypocrisy, as one of my favorite games of this generation was Horizon Zero Dawn. Did this game reinvent the wheel? No. In fact, it didn't even come close to doing that. At the end of the day, Guerrilla Games knew what they had and they strived to create a fully realized game. This game's sales figures and critical praise are testaments to the developer's success and their goal. I was engrossed in the setting of Horizon's world. I wanted to know what befell the human race and how it came to be that Earth was both ancient once more, yet at the mercy of unimaginably advanced machines. The sense of explorative curiosity that this game imbued me with was one that I hadn't felt in years. When there was something on the map still yet known, I couldn't wait to go there and find what Guerrilla Games left waiting for me. They took a formula that had been iterated upon many times in the past by other developers and games, and they shaped it to best fit their vision. This could very well be what Sucker Punch has done here with Tsushima. They seem to be fully aware of this sense of discovery and how important it is to a game in this genre. In fact, this was the first point of emphasis in the demo. The navigation system and lack of minimap came as much welcome revelations, as many games seem to rely on fast travel and keeping players' eyes focused on one corner of the screen in order to distract them from realizing the all too depressing fact that the game they are playing is more akin to a vapid plane rather than a living playground. This could just be where we're at with games within this genre though, in a sort of holding pattern, waiting for a team of boundary-pushing individuals to take us by our controller-gripping hands and lead us to parts unknown. Minor deviations on a tried-and-true formula appear to be the status quo at the moment, and we will just have to wait for the wonders that the next generation will hopefully bring. I guess that is why the word outlier exists. The world is brimming with so much to consume that when something comes along and forces people to take pause and question if what they just saw belonged in our point in time, it is truly something to behold. In the end, I can't say with any degree of certainty where this game will rank on my list for Sony exclusives. My fears of the game's apparent familiarity might well manifest to where I find myself struggling to finish the game. Or perhaps Sucker Punch's care shines bright enough and I find my trepidations to be unfounded. I realize that I didn't touch on much of what was showcased in the demo and therefore am not giving the game its proper due, but I hope I got my point across. I believe it is fair to say that entries to the open world genre have many overlapping characteristics, and whether or not one can look past these similarities is entirely subjective. I, for one, was struck by them on May 14th, and thus am looking forward to what lies ahead for something that leaves me with a feeling of desire rather than familiarity.